Hello, East Hampton Village Planning Board. We are live. Thank you.
Beautiful. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I call to order the Planning Board for April 11, 2024. The first item on our agenda are the minutes of April 13, 2023. Any questions or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Great. The next item is the subdivision of Gladys and W. Collier REV Revocable Trust, 26 Jericho Road. Is the applicant present? Yes. Good morning. And just introduce yourself and give us a brief review.
Good morning. I'm Britton Bistrian, representing 26 Jericho Partners, LLC, in their pursuit to subdivide their property into 3 conforming residential lots. A similar application was filed in 2018, different representation, that wasn't completed. Myself, along with Denise Shern, submitted this pre-application conference so that the board and the applicant would have be able to revive this project and review it on a pre-application basis in order to address any comments prior to a formal submission. The proposed minor subdivision does not require any dimensional variances, creates 3 conforming lots on 7 acres of property in the R80 zoning district. As for the details, as thoughtfully presented in Billy's memo, I would add the following comments. The first, on the scenic easement, the proposal proposes 35% of the total acreage into scenic easements along Jericho Road and Cove Hollow Road. The applicant agrees with Billy's comment that it'd be a better design to increase the size of the easement on Lot 1 on Cove Hollow Road and eliminate the one on Jericho, so we accept that. The other issue was the proposed common driveway to serve Lot 1 and 2, and a singular, we had proposed a common driveway access for 1 and 2, and then a standalone access for Lot 3. The memo suggests that all 3 lots may benefit from 1 access. However, in preliminary discussions, we don't think this would be a desirable design element because it would make that road serving the 3 lots with the potential for 6 dwellings a fire access road, which, as I'm sure the board's familiar with, they're a lot more, let's say, suburban, paved, wider, not sort of diverges from the rural character in this neighborhood. So we would prefer to keep it as just 2 accesses on a separate access for Lot 3. Denise Shern is the attorney that's working with me on this. She's not able to make it today. She's in court. So I would sort of defer to her on the workforce housing issue. My preliminary sort of planning understanding of that is that the village's ADU code saying that you could only have your family or yourself or your employees live in an ADU. I would interpret that to say that that's the same thing that the workforce housing law was trying to do, and it might be trying to achieve the same goals, but I would defer to your attorney or Denise on that particular matter. The other items were just technical requirements, the EAF, obviously we have to prepare that, and engineering, and all that will come with our formal submission to this board.
Okay.
I stand ready to answer any questions.
Any questions, board members? Okay. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a question? No.
Could you just speak in a little more detail about the fire access road? You're saying by statute it would require a fire access road, the 3 plots, if they all had a common driveway?
Correct. That's my understanding, that due to the length and the number of dwelling units served, that it would require a fire access road.
And even though it's just 3 plots, if you have ADUs on each one of them, it's the dwelling units that control
6.
whether or not you have access.
Right.
And the difference between a driveway and a fire access road, do you know specifically what the elements are that differentiate them?
Design and materials. I don't want to say that particularly, but they're a lot wider and they can't be made of loose granular surfaces. So they have to be paved or equivalent and much wider than a standard driveway.
And you will come back with a little more detail on that, or?
Sure, we could, if the board would like, we could have Denise prepare a statement both on the workforce and the fire access road with our formal submission.
Yeah, why don't we do that with the formal, but thank you for
Okay,
the
and if
preliminary.
I could just get some comments on the board, whether the scenic easement, whether we would make the adjustment that Billy suggested, we'd be happy to incorporate that.
Yes, yeah, let's go ahead with that, yes.
Okay, we're happy to do
I
that.
personally think the easement's really nice to have all around the whole side of it. It's going to hold the character and context of all the properties together. So there won't be a heavy change to the viewing from Cove Hollow Road. My only question is here on the current access road proposed is, do you feel this is enough for two driveways to share, potentially right up against a neighbor's property to the north?
Do I feel that it's enough? It meets specs for width, so I do feel it's adequate for width for two access points. It meets code, and that's a pretty heavily landscaped and fenced area. I think getting it, they always say in good planning, you want to keep it away from corners, access roads, because people pull in and out and Amazon trucks pull in. So I think being farther from the corner makes good sense. It also tucks it into the back of the lot so that you're not disrupting the intact building envelope.
I believe the neighboring driveway is right alongside the other property line.
On the other side of the, yes, correct.
I similarly was just looking at the space. It's a 20-foot wide access easement. Will there be a definition of sort of the width of the proposed driveway within that? And my other concern was just, would there be enough room for greenscaping to allow both the driveway? Because from my observation, the neighboring house also it's side facing, so the front of that house faces this whole space. So I just was concerned about there being sufficient space for both the driveway and some greenscape, which would likely be desired.
So usually 20-foot wide is a standard access, and then throughout most jurisdictions, you do a 12-foot driveway. So it allows for at least 4 feet on both sides or 8 feet on the other side. So it's more than enough. You'll need a few feet to plant. So if the board wanted to see that, I guess it's northwestern border of the driveway, we could integrate that into the plan. We could propose a planting area, the first 5 feet or.
I think there should be as much planting as possible around the whole perimeter, yeah.
And just if 12 feet is in fact sufficient for fire truck access, and then potentially there'll be some consideration of how there'd be a turnaround, because it looks like the driveway just ends at lot.
Right, there will be a
right
turnaround. That's just indicative of the pre-submission. The engineering will be completely developed in our next submission. This was sort of more of a conceptual layout. And I guess if I could just get clear directions on specifically the proposed scenic easement on lot 1, because I think what Mr. Lamonia said might be different than what Billy's memo said, so I want to make sure that I'm getting a consensus.
Anyone? Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I think it's fine to also.
As it is.
Yeah.
As depicted here,
Correct.
I think I thought we were looking to extend,
Cove Hollow. Billy had suggested it. Maybe, Billy, you want to address it?
Yeah, Billy, could you just,
well, right now from west to east, in lot 3, lot 2, you probably have from the property line to the end of the easement on lot 1 is probably, and this is rough calculation, about 220 feet, something in that area. In lot 2, it drops down to, I think, 200 feet thereabouts. And then lot 1, which, I think we agree is kind of the critical lot because it's on the corner, and visually it's important to give a good presentation there. I think it drops down to about 100. So, I think we're looking to move that, at least, it's my recommendation that we move that in line somewhat with the other two lots. So it appears as a continuous easement and not a stepped easement.
So I believe if I'm interpreting Billy's comments was that to make all 3 lots have the same or similar scenic easements on Cove Hollow and eliminate the scenic easement on Jericho. Okay. Am I interpreting you correctly? Okay.
Thank you very much. And
you.
Billy, could you just give us your analysis?
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Billy Hajak for the Village. So I had prepared a brief memoranda for the board. It was dated April 5th. The history of this, as Britton touched on, was a pre-preliminary submission, and at the time they were proposing to subdivide the property into 4 lots with reserve area, but they were proposing an active reserve area, which didn't comport with the code for a variety of reasons. It required lot area variances, reserved areas can't, qualify as active reserve area. So there were, a lot of moving parts that project was, I guess, essentially abandoned. But the recommendations that I had offered to the board at that time have been somewhat incorporated into this map. So I think what you have now is a fairly good start. I think it's a pretty good design. The 2 comments that I had offered, one was about the common driveway. I do believe, though, it's an opinion that we'll have to figure out if the number of lots determines the width of the required access. And a fire apparatus access road does have to have an improved width of 26 feet. So it's fairly substantial. It's probably going to be wider than some of the roads in the area, which is something we wouldn't necessarily want to propose that. So I think the number of lots using the common driveway is going to dictate, the width of it. And, a standard common driveway width is 12 to 14 feet of improved surface, something along those lines. So we can refine that in more detail. But in terms of the scenic easement, I think personally, I feel it'd be a better appearance from Cove Hollow Road to have the scenic easement line sort of more match up.
Right.
So people are going to disturb and landscape right up to the edge of the easement.
Exactly.
And if you're having these sort of varying lines, I think it's just going to lend itself to potential encroachments. I think it's going to look a little awkward. It was just a suggestion to consider to try to even that line out. And the only way to even it out, you could ask for more than 35%, but I personally think 35% is a really good, number. And the code doesn't have a minimum or a maximum, but I think 35% is very reasonable. And the only way to accomplish that would be to give up a little bit of easement somewhere else, and it just seemed logical.
I don't know about other board members, but I do agree with that, and I think it should be continuous. In other words, it shouldn't be like landscaping. It's going to look like this here, and suddenly it ends, and it's going to look like this over there. It should be continuous, a continuous flow.
So, the board can also take their time and think about it. You can all visit the property and look at the neighbors and check out the neighborhood. And
absolutely
come back and you're not bound by any decisions today. So it's really just a give and take, at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I think Mr. Driscoll's comments make sense. That'll try and get that one step out and bring a more uniform line in. I think we're at a good layout right here, and that little bit could make it even a tad bit better, which is very encouraging.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? So this concludes our preliminary review, and we'll move forward, and Denise will get her comments, and you'll keep us informed, okay. All right. So we'll be in touch then. All right. Any other questions? Okay, that concludes our agenda for today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You have a motion.
Yeah, okay. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. See you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.